Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I am back with another Series 2000 review. Hope you're having a great Tuesday so far. If it's still Tuesday when you're watching this, I don't know. Should be for the main group of people who will be watching this today. Anyway, this is a book that I've had recommended to me over and over and over again from Stein, from Goosebumps Series 2000 as a franchise. And I've always heard this one's really good. And of course I had my beliefs about it, some different biases about it too. Some things I was worried about going into it, because this one is very obviously a, not so much a knockoff, but a stolen concept, if you will. But even so, with that being said, I think it improves a lot on what it's stolen from, or borrowed from. Anyway, this book here, I just got the original cover in the mail this week, like Monday. And that book is The Haunted Car from Series 2000. Look at this awesome cover, dude. I love that car. It's so sick looking. With the red sky and stuff. The red sky is a very big theme in Series 2000. By the way, this is book number 21 of the series. I only have about 3 Series 2000 books left. There's this one, there's Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls, and then we have Ghost in the Mirror. And then it's done. We can do the ranking video and stuff here on the channel for you guys. And I myself am very excited about that. By the way, here is the reissue cover from Brandon Dorman. Not a bad cover. One of his better ones, in my opinion, from the reissue collections. Pretty nice. This is the one I actually read, by the way. So The Haunted Car, obviously, it's in the 2015 movie for Goosebumps. A lot of people know a lot about this haunted car. A lot of you guys have read this book and told me how good it was, like I said a moment ago. It's very obviously, almost down to the very T, aside from the ages of the main characters, it's almost entirely stolen from Stephen King's book, Christine. And I'm not even a big fan of that book. I read that like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. That book is boring. I really think it's not as good as people make it out to be in the King fandom, if you will. But then John Carpenter made a movie adaptation. John Carpenter, who made the original remake of The Thing, he made Halloween, he made so many great films, Vampires, Escape from New York. The dude is a genius, right? He comes in, he makes an adaptation of Stephen King's book, Christine, and to me made it better than it'll ever be. I really think that that movie is incredible. I can't wait to talk about it at some point this year, God willing, and not here on this channel, but on my other channel. And I love that flick. I've grown up watching that movie so many times since my dad told me about it when I was a kid, and I rented it from Hollywood Video. This book, The Haunted Car, for my exposure from both the book and movie of Christine from Stephen King, this is straight up stolen. I'm sorry, but it's true. But as I said, I think it improves on a lot of things that the Christine book doesn't do well, like all the bloat that Stephen King typically puts in his books. I really loved Haunted Car. I think love is the perfect word for me to put into this book when I talk about it. I think it's genuinely excellent. Really, I mean that. Not perfect, because of kind of the typical pacing of a horror story you have to do, especially with what this book is trying to be as a throwback to Christine. And I really love it for a lot of reasons. I really think it's an excellent read, and I recommend it to everybody up front at the beginning of the review. So what is the book about? Well, The Haunted Car essentially is about a young boy who is very much in love with cars. He really, really loves them. He and his brother and his family moved into this older, rickety house. His dad is kind of the guy that wants to repair everything. He thinks he's capable of doing all of that, not being an engineer. Probably not able to do that. He's not an electrician, but he's still messing with electricity, that kind of thing. And their house is kind of old and rickety looking, you know? Well, all of a sudden one day when he and his brother and his dad are in the car and his mom's not there, the brakes go out on the car that the dad keeps fixing by himself. They crash the car, they barely make it out of it, and yeah, you had a massive car crash in a Goosebumps book. That was pretty wild to me. They barely get out of that situation, and the dad ends up getting an ad read to him from our main character kid who loves cars, who immediately stayed up like really late, looking into different ads in the newspaper for his dad. Yeah, this is already dated. Who looks for newspaper ads for cars and used cars and stuff in 2023? Yeah, it's very dated. But he finds a bunch of ads. He finds one in particular that tells him it's a very older car. I assume it's older. It's beautiful. Name your own price was really the thing that perked the dad's ears up. And he and the son, the main character, go out to this house to check out this car. They happen to notice when they get there and they talk to the owner, though, who's an older guy, that the car is locked up in his garage, but there's tons and tons of padlocks all over it, dude. We're talking like 10 padlocks, probably. And he unlocks them all. He tells them, hey, you know, if you guys want it, take it on a test drive. I'd love to see what you think about it. I'm not going with you, though. So it gets a little weird. The dad and the son go on a little test drive thing. They really like the car. They decide to go ahead and buy it that day, even though they said they weren't going to, because of how good of a price they can get. I think it was like $5,000 for this really nice car. It was in beautiful condition. It had been kept up with, had been taken care of. And the owner's very odd about letting them in his house and stuff. He's like, I don't want you in here. Let me get my checkbook and whatever and my permits and all that. I'll come back with a registration. We'll handle it outside of the house. He's very bizarre about that. You can't help but wonder if something else is going on, and they suspect that as well. They get the car home, and it kind of, everything is fine at first. Everybody's excited in the family to have this really nice new car. Not new, but, you know, old classic car that's really nice. And then things start to go weird. Our main character loves cars, like I said, so he wants to go into the car and do what all of us did as young boys, maybe some girls out there, but mainly young boys, who got in the car behind the steering wheel and always pretended like we were driving in a racetrack. Or in a Fast and Furious movie in my case. And he does that, but the car's doors lock, and he gets stuck inside. And this happens a lot. This happens like 2 or 3 times to him in the book. And every single time this happens, a girl who apparently just moved into an old rickety house nearby named Marissa shows up and gets him out of the car. He's not really sure what's up with that. She seems nice. I think he said that she seemed pretty. I don't know, something like that. So it's a little bit different. She's a little bit older than him. I think she's like 14. He's 12. Anyway, with all that being said, though, he starts to notice there's some kind of weird thing with Marissa, too. Maybe the house that she's living in is kind of an old abandoned house, too. Why would you move into that house? Even though, you know, he and his family moved into a rickety old house as well. Anyway, pretty much they start to suspect he and his brother, his younger brother Todd, being very, very interested into ghost stories and that kind of thing, they start to suspect that maybe the car might be haunted some way, somehow. And if you've read or watched Christine, mainly read the book from Stephen King, you will probably know that, yes, the actual car is haunted in that particular book. But there are scenes that are in that book that are straight up in this in this particular book from Stein. And it kind of surprised me that Stein was able to get away with that. You know, a lot of the Series 2000 books don't have reissues. I don't know why, some kind of copyright thing of some sort. I'm not really sure what's up with that. But this is one of the ones, after reading it, that I'm very surprised that Scholastic didn't get sued. I really am surprised. But it makes sense. You know, you can copy an idea. You just can't take the names and the character stuff. Like, you couldn't have the name Darth Vader in another book without the permission of Lucasfilm or Disney, I guess now. You couldn't do it. And, you know, I'm surprised that Stephen King didn't target R.L. Stein for this. Because I think Stein, in my opinion, is a better writer than Stephen King. But that's just my personal taste. I like the pulpy nature of Stein books and whatever. King can be really great. It's just Christine's not. Is it an improvement over Christine? Absolutely. Like I said, I think it's a really good read. The Haunted Car really gets a lot right. One of the best things that it gets better than Christine as the book, not so much the movie, but as the book, what it got better than that was the atmosphere, the eeriness to this story, and the idea of this car. What's wrong with this car? I really love that about it. I think it really nails that. I think Stein hit that right on the head in the best possible way. It feels just off. It feels just off. Just the whole writing of the book. It feels like the storytelling here just feels off. Like something is wrong. We all can instinctually feel it. And I think it really gets that perfect. And it's such a weird thing to say for a Goosebumps book. But it really lands that in the best way possible. It's such a great compliment to give a random R.L. Stein book that I've never read before, that I'm talking to on a camera. It did something so special compared to a lot of Series 2000 books. It's not my favorite right now. It's not probably my favorite by the end of my ranking video whenever I do that. It probably won't even be in my top 5. I don't know. It could be, but I haven't really decided entirely. But this is an excellent read. This is truly an excellent book that I really, really recommend to all of you out there if you haven't read it yet. You're going to be in for a surprise when you read this book, I think. But again, if you're a big Stephen King fan, a big Christine fan mainly, this one might rub you the wrong way a little bit at first because of how it seems like a straight-up stealing the idea situation, but I would treat it more as how Star Wars was a love letter to old movie serials. That's how I would look at this, like Buck Rogers type of stuff. I would look at it that way, through that lens, and I think it really makes the experience better in a lot of ways, because I think Stephen King put out Christine in like the 80s, like 83, maybe a little bit like 86, somewhere in there, around the time It came out. So this is like over 10 years later, like almost 15, 20 years later. I think it was closer to 15 when he wrote this book, Stein, I mean. With all that being said, though, I love this book. I thought it was really great. I really don't have much to complain about. It's mainly just the typical pacing of this kind of story, how we slowly find out things in the mystery around the car, what's wrong with it, what's wrong with the father who sold them the car, you know, not the father, but the neighbor that sold them the car and whatever. This book has a lot to offer. I think it's genuinely creepy. I think there's some truly horrific imagery in it that's really going to stick with you, I think. But I loved it. It was so good for what it was. It's going to stick with me. It's going to be one of those ones that it's going to haunt me, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. Anyway, with all that being said, when it comes to Goosebumps Series 2000, number 21, The Haunted Car, I recommend this highly. What a great read, dude. It's so good. I read most of this book yesterday after I did my TV book review for Calling All Creeps, and I'll tell you, man, this book was hard to put down. I couldn't stop reading it. It was really, really addictive for 120 pages. Phenomenal read. Really big recommendation for me, for you guys. As I said, if I had to rate The Haunted Car on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give this a 4 out of 5 stars, man. This is great. This is really, really great. It's so close to being a 5 out of 5, but I just don't think it gets there because of the pacing, because there's not really a whole lot happening through most of this book, aside from small, odd absurdity types of situations, kind of like your typical haunted house things. You have little small moments that build up into something bigger, and that's what The Haunted Car mimics as a ghost story, if you want to call it that. Really good read. Really, really good read. Have you guys read The Haunted Car? What do you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you all have to say about this bizarre, wild read, and especially if you're a Christine fan or a Stephen King fan, I would love to hear what you have to say about this book down in the comment section down below too. I don't think many of you have probably read Christine, maybe some of you, but not most of you, I would say, if I had to bet. I don't think many people are Stephen King fans compared to the R.L. Stein fans that would flock to here on this channel, but still, if you have read Christine or seen the movie, I'd love to hear your thoughts comparing that to this down in the comment section down below, because I'm surprised how much was used from from Christine in this, you know. Wow. Anyway, what do you think? Put your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.